Today we'll be taking a look at some of the most renowned conquerors in history and how they ultimately met their end. Stick to the end of this video if you want to know what they all shared in common. But before we get into this tale, don't forget to support your local bard by tossing either one like or one sub. Now grab yourselves a cup of mead. The tale is about to begin. Alexander the Great, a relentless conqueror, only cared about one thing: taking over the whole world. He threw his army into battles without fear, acting like he couldn't be defeated. He personally charged ahead of his army, inspiring his men who followed him blindly into battle. For 10 years he kept winning, while his tired soldiers just wanted to go home and enjoy their victories. But Alexander didn't care about the riches or ruling, he just wanted to keep conquering. However, his winning streak was endangered in India, where he faced tough opposition from King Porus. He lost many men, got wounded himself, and even lost his favorite horse in battle. Despite all this, he pushed his soldiers forward, ignoring their exhaustion and the fresh Indian army waiting on the other side of the river. They begged him to surrender, but he wouldn't have it, pushing his army to the very limit and eventually defeating King Porus and his army, despite being heavily outnumbered. This decision, however, led to the beginning of his downfall. Known for his heavy drinking, one wild night left him seriously ill, and his generals started plotting for power after his death. This sparked a long war among them, breaking up the Macedonian Empire. It is said that Alexander's body didn't decompose for 6 days after he died. But modern scientists think that he might have been in a coma due to a brain disorder, possibly aware of the scheming around him before he was even buried, thus explaining his delayed decomposition. Gaius Julius Caesar followed in the footsteps of his lifelong hero, Alexander the Great. He was recounted to have been moved to tears while pursuing accounts of Alexander's exploits. He gazed at the Alexander statue in the Heracles Temple in what is today Cadiz, Spain. He looked at his own achievements, lamented the fact that Alexander had conquered half of the world by 32. Yet he was of the same age and had failed to accomplish anything of note. This moment reveals Caesar's admiration for Alexander's conquest and his own desire for a legendary legacy. In a narrative that mirrors Alexander's self-centered nature, Caesar's ascent to power saw him transform into a figure of self-obsession and narcissism. As he solidified his status as a prominent general and statesman, he actively undermined the traditional Roman republican system. With audacity, he proclaimed himself dictator perpetuo, a perpetual ruler, shamelessly asserting, "If you must break the law, do it to seize power. In all other cases, observe it." Caesar's unchecked ambition incited fear among Roman senators, who foresaw the erosion of their authority with the establishment of a monarchy. This apprehension culminated in the tragic events of March 15, 44 BC, when a group of 60 senators gathered in the Senate chamber to assassinate Caesar. In a chilling display of supposed affection, they inflicted 23 stab wounds upon him, with even his trusted confidant Marcus Brutus among the assailants. Transitioning to the medieval era, this period of time suffered the presence of Genghis Khan, who ascended as the formidable beast of the East. Unlike Alexander or Caesar, Genghis Khan did not harbor delusions of godhood or messianic fervor. Instead, he openly embraced his identity as a tyrant, shamelessly proclaiming his philosophy with chilling eloquence. "The greatest happiness is to vanquish your enemies, to chase them before you, to rob them of their wealth, to see those dear to them bathe in tears, to clasp to your bosom their wives and daughters." Genghis Khan's conquest dwarfed even the legendary achievements of Alexander, spanning twice as much land. His ambition knew no bounds, as he sought to unify the world under the sway of a sword. However, his demise remains a subject of debate, with conflicting accounts of his death. Some attribute it to the bubonic plague, while others suggest he fell to wounds sustained in battle. The secrecy surrounding Khan's death underscores the pivotal juncture at which it occurred, as the Mongols were on the cusp of realizing their long-desired conquest of the Western Shia Empire. Khan's dying wish was for his demise to remain concealed, prioritizing the continuation of his empire's expansion over his own grand funeral. Such was the devotion of his followers that even the procession carrying his corpse became a scene of slaughter, ensuring that the secret of his death remained safeguarded at all costs. Fast forward 5 centuries, that brings us to perhaps the most eminent conqueror of all time, Napoleon Bonaparte. Gone were the days of the clashing swords and spears to welcome the thundering might of artillery, a transition that Napoleon mastered with unparalleled prowess. Renowned as a mastermind of warfare, Napoleon's ambitions transcended mere conquest. His persona, arguably more enigmatic than his predecessors, was marked by a singular conviction in his own artistic approach to war. While Caesar fancied himself the sole savior of his people, and Alexander envisioned himself as a deity, Genghis Khan ruled with an iron fist as a tyrant overlord. In contrast, Napoleon viewed himself as a master of the battlefield, seeing it as a canvas upon which he painted his strategic masterpiece. He professed, "I love power, but it is as an artist that I love it. I love it as a musician loves his violin, to draw out its sounds and chords and harmonies." However, as the stakes escalated and the death toll mounted, Napoleon's fortunes began to wane. The Battle of Waterloo in 1815 marked his ultimate defeat, as he fell into the clutches of British forces. Yet, unlike his predecessors, Napoleon was not sentenced to death. The British aimed to deny him glory. Napoleon represented such a character and a symbol at that point through his legendary exploits that murdering him would have created a martyr instead. He was banished to house arrest in the island of St. Helena, where he spent his remaining days in denial. His past glories reduced to mere memories and frustrations. Napoleon's final days were marked by isolation and despair, a sad shadow of his former self. Ultimately, on May 5, 1821, Napoleon breathed his last. His final confession, expressing his enduring love for France, his military exploits, and his beloved wife, Josephine. Napoleon, just like his predecessors, was ultimately driven by an insatiable hunger for more. Whether succumbing to sudden illness, betrayal by their own, or the bite of an arrow, the common thread that binds these great conquerors is their unrelenting desire for conquest, even in the face of certain death. Thank you very much for joining us for today's tale. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share. It's a small button for you and a gigantic leap for my channel. Until the next tale, farewell, and may the gods smile upon you.